Hello and welcome to the Power Up Talk Show, the talk show where we bring together amazing people that are making impact in our community. Hello, I'm Sandy Spady, and I want to take you on a journey. But before we introduce my first amazing guest, Mr. Deion, what do you have cooking over there?
Well, today I'm going to do an elevated Brazilian daiquiri. So what's going to make this Brazilian is I'm going to use cachaça. This is the Brazilian state liqueur, or country liqueur. I'm also going to use some zacapa, some lime, and some demerara. Daiquiris are as old as time itself. So let's get into it, shall
Let's do it.
So we're going to start
You
out.
had me at Brazilian. What was that?
Brazilian, it's cachaça. So it is the Brazilian state liqueur.
Nice.
And it is absolutely delicious. It's a little more agricole, so it is in fact it's a rum by standard, but not considered rum because it's area protected. And then we got ourselves some Zacapa XO, and this is really going to elevate us because this is cane sugar. It's aged well. It's delicious. And we're going to add our lime. Every daiquiri needs a lime. Just like every rose has its thorns.
Oh, shaboom, I love it.
And then we're gonna just add a little more sweetness with some of our demerara sugar and the raw syrup.
It's an art.
Now demerara is not like regular simple syrup. This actually has a ton of flavor, and it's wonderful with anything rum or bourbon. Anything brown. That's kind of the rule for me. And then we're just gonna give this a shake to some Zumba music. All right. And last but not least, we're gonna pour this over crushed ice. Now the reason I did that is the drink of Brazil is the caipirinha, and it is basically the same recipe, only they use a crushed sugar cube and lime, and they muddle the lime. And so we're gonna pay homage to that with a little crushed ice. More there. And there we have it. We have our elevated daiquiri.
Alrighty, well, let's cheers to my guests. Yes, let's taste it.
That's delicious.
That's delicious.
That's good.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a treat. I have been watching this phenomenal woman for almost a year. Her name is CJ Jackson, and she is really bringing awareness to phenomenal women. CJ, who are you?
Oh. That's an interesting question. And I think that oftentimes we get asked that question and we want to automatically go to all the roles that we play. Yes. But that isn't really who I am. Yeah. It's just things that I love to do and things that I feel are part of my responsibility. But the question of who is CJ Jackson is really, I am a woman who has a heart for other women and for girls. I love and I love hard, and I believe that God has given me something to give back to the world. And at the core of who I am, I believe that I need to walk in my purpose. And so when people ask me who I am, that's really who I am. And I have the blessing, to be able to express that through a variety of roles. First as wife, mother, and then the work that I do in the community. And so that's really who I am.
I love that. Now that we know who she is, right? Now, what do you do with your passion, right? You have a passion in the community.
Yes.
So you just didn't sit there. You took your strengths from God and you're just taking it away. What are you doing? Tell us.
Oh my gosh. And so I'll first say this, Sandy. My passion, my purpose was birthed through pain.
Yeah.
And it really started off as a little girl growing up in a household where there was tons of domestic violence, where there was sexual abuse, drug abuse, etc. And so I struggled with self-esteem issues most of my life, and it wasn't until later on in life that I actually figured out, how to deal with those things and heal through some of those hurts and some of those traumas that I experienced. And in the process of doing that, I started seeing pieces of myself in other little girls and women. And I said, what is going on? And so what I end up doing is launching two things. One was Confidently Me Coaching, and it really was focused on empowerment and confidence. Later on, I added in the leadership element around it. And then I launched Phenomenal Woman Academy, which is really a platform that I wanted to bring to the Omaha community that focused on women's stories. And so we go to a lot of conferences, right? A lot of events, and we talk a lot about like leadership and, organizational things and things of the world. But for me, I think it all starts here, owning your power. But in order for you to own it, you have to know it. Yeah. And so that's really what the Academy is really about, is helping women kind of unfold that on a larger scale than in some one-on-one coaching, because I can't one-on-one coach the world.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yes.
You have to do it through a bigger platform, a bigger means, a bigger audience. And so that's really why the Academy was really built and put together.
I love that we both have a passion for voice. Yes. I'm the founder of Women with Voices.
Yes.
And the story frees you.
Oh my God, it does.
Have so much to share, right?
Yes.
And that's what I love about what we do with women, is the confidence through your voice.
Yes.
To share your story. Mm-hmm. And the ripple effect just happens, right?
It does, because your story, not only does it continue to heal you, but it also helps somebody else through their healing, right? Because when you tell your story and I'm going through the same thing, I no longer feel like I'm alone. And I feel like, oh my God, if Sandy made it through it, then maybe there's hope for me to make it through it as well. And so we open up the door for bold dialogue when we share our stories with each other.
That is exactly what it is, feeling alone.
Yeah.
All of us have felt alone at some point.
Yes.
But in our seasoned years, we're like, there's enough. We don't have to. We're taking it to the streets. We're taking it to women.
Yes.
I also love, I speak to high schoolers too about self-confidence, because that's where it begins.
Oh, yes.
Tell us, what is with the youth? Because at your Phenomenal Woman, I was watching her for months. And then I get a phone call from this woman, and I was so honored to receive that award. I didn't even know really that you had awards. I was just like watching all the greatness you were doing. But what I love about it is that it was open to every woman. You had every woman at that conference. Yes, the opening speaker, the fire speakers, everything touched someone.
Yes.
How did you go about even beginning this Phenomenal Women's Conference?
Oh my gosh. So this is a funny story.
Yeah, I love stories. Yes.
For years, I wanted to pull women together in some type of way to just have dialogue around these things that I call the triplets, which is self-worth, self-esteem, and self-confidence. And I kept thinking, I'll do a brunch or something like that, right? And just kind of sat on it. Then COVID happened, right? And the world shut down. And I was like, okay, well, I guess, this isn't the right time. But something happened. I took a trip. I was in the middle of writing my book. And I took a trip with two of my girlfriends to Jamaica. And we went there for clarity, and I also went to strategize. I needed to just disconnect from the world. And I got there and I lost my book. Was on the plane on the way home, like crying. But
you mean the book that you were writing?
The book that I had spent almost a year writing.
I get that.
I lost the entire thing.
Wow.
It was horrible. But the last day that we were there, one of the girls, one of my really good friends, we went out into the pier in the middle of the ocean, and she prayed. And all I heard in my spirit was launch. I didn't know launch what, launch how, launch when. Like, I didn't know. Then I lost my book. And then I got home and I said, well, what am I supposed to do? And God said, you need to do a conference. And so I kind of sat on it, because I was like, is this really God, or is this just me kind of just wanting to do some good stuff? Yeah. And I sat on it for, I want to say, like a month or two. And then I had a dream. And in that dream, I had women coming together. I said, okay, I am supposed to do this. And so I said, I'm going to put this conference together. I had to throw it together in like 4 months.
We have so much in common right now. I can't even stand it.
I say throw, but it was great. So what I did was I just enlisted some people that I trusted who believed in what I was doing, who believed in my vision. And I started gathering women together, and I just said, we need to figure out, how are we going to award these women? And so I named the awards after phases in my life that people had named for me. And so that's where the Inspiration Award comes from, and the Rising Star Award comes from, the Game Changer Award comes from. And then this last year we added the Woman of the Year Award to that. But that's really how I got started, Sandy. It was really, I felt like God gave me, he put it in my spirit to do it. And so I'm like, let me just be obedient and go get it done, because there's a gap there that needs to be filled. And if God gave me the passion and the purpose and the gifts and talents to go and express that and execute it, then let me just go do my job.
Oh my gosh. First of all, I too, like the Holy Spirit from God, right? You're like, okay, I'm doing what, when, I'm showing up, okay. And then I too took off a year of my life basically to write a book, but for some unforeseen reasons, I wasn't able, right, to publish.
Yep.
And that's when my Win With Voices became so powerful for me.
Oh my gosh.
Because I wanted to give a voice because I
Yes.
couldn't have one. 4 months also.
Yes.
I was sitting having coffee at Stories Coffee, and I'm like, I want to give more. I want to have a day summit.
Yes.
4 months. Seriously.
We have so much in
We
common.
are sisters.
We have so much in common.
I love it. And you know what's funny is that we didn't set out to do this. It's just like, knock, knock.
I didn't ask for it. I didn't ask for it. I was not begging for it. I wasn't looking for it.
Yes.
It was more of, this is what I called you to do. And I remember having a conversation with one of my girlfriends, and I was telling her, I believe, I am a woman of faith, and I believe in God, and I believe in Jesus Christ. And I was having my own personal conversation with God, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this, because I didn't ask for it. And I have to be completely transparent about my life. To help women through their triplets, I have to tell you how I got through mine, and that's very raw. And God said, if you can't fulfill your purpose, what need do I have of you? And I was like, ooh, let me go ahead and just do this.
You can't say no.
You can't say no to that. A toaster is made to toast. It's not made to do other things. So if I've made you to do this, this is what you're made to do. And I'm going to give you everything that you need to execute it. So it's been a journey.
Yeah. And what I hear from God, I'm very faithful also, is I gave you these gifts. They're not really your gifts, Sandy. You may think you are talented. It's my gifts for you.
Oh, yes.
And like you and I both, we want to share them and empower others to go further. The women that we want to share things with.
Absolutely.
I love it.
I love that. That's
okay, tell me about, social media, there I am watching her again. Mom Power. Another conference in less than months?
Gosh.
I'm like,
yes.
How does she do this? What is the Mom Power? It looked just as big.
It's amazing. So Mom Power Up Inc. was created by Desiree Coleman and Marissa Hattab. So Marissa is Desiree's daughter. And this was Desiree's dream and her baby. And they do something called Thrive Circles. They get women together, and it's really a safe, supportive space. But the purpose of the conference is to bring working moms together. And we're not just talking about women who work outside the home, because if you are a stay-at-home mom, that's a job.
It's a job,
And so it's like trying to give them a specific space and stage to really come together and have bold conversations. And how do you balance being a mom and raising children? And if you choose to go outside your home, have a career, what does that even look like? And so she asked me to come and be a keynote speaker, and I was like, absolutely, let's go. What do you want me to do? Anything that I can do to assist, because number one, it is a space that needs to be addressed, right? Number two, I know what it's like to try to put a conference together for the first time, and you're like, who do I call on? Who can I trust? Who's going to actually come through
and help? Yes.
Right? And so I really wanted to do that for them, and it was absolutely amazing. I think they had around 200 women actually show up to the conference for the first time. That is a big deal. And so shout out to Desiree and Marissa on that, because they did a phenomenal job. And I had a presentation that I had made for this conference. Another funny story. I put a presentation together, and I was going to talk about dismantling Superwoman complex.
Love it.
And I had this fancy PowerPoint and I had generated all these AI like cool graphics, and I had a different superwoman to represent every type of woman, every ethnicity, every brand, right? And I was like, I'm gonna knock this out the park. And so I get there Friday night for sound check, and even told Marissa, this is what I'm gonna talk about. And she's like, yes, I can't wait. And I got home, so I wanted to change a couple things on a couple slides, and I opened up my computer and my mind goes blank. I'm like, my mind never goes blank. Like my mind always has like 1,001 thoughts at one time, right? And something was just off. And so I waited, and I said, well, it doesn't matter. I don't need to fix those slides. She's like, I know my presentation. I've been working on this for weeks. And so about midnight, God said, no, that's not what I want you to talk about. And I went to my husband and I said, you are not going to do this. Guess what? And he goes, you're not supposed to talk about what you put together. Like he already knew. And so I said, do you really want me to talk about what you're asking me to talk about? But I'm trying to justify, like, but I've worked on this. I'm trying to negotiate, right? But I've worked on this, God, and he's like, no, right? And so when I got out there, I talked about the 9 reasons why your confidence is missing in action. I talked about the importance of triplets. And then I also shared a story that I had not shared even with my mom about an incident on campus where I was partying and you know, doing stuff that I probably shouldn't have been doing. Actually, I know I wasn't supposed to be doing, but I blacked out. And when I woke up, I already knew what had happened. And so I had to live with that, and I didn't deal with that in a very good way at all. I didn't talk to anybody about it. I just kind of shut down. I went into depression. And so my self-worth and self-esteem and confidence issues that were already in the dumpster from my childhood, now they were in the dumpster on fire. And it took me several years, decades to get out of that. And I share that story with women because I want them to know that if you happen to have been in that situation, you're not alone. You can come out on the other side of that, but it takes a lot of healing and some self-reflection to create awareness and go get some help. Go get the help that you need from a professional person that can walk you through that. And so I said, okay, God, I see why you wanted me to talk about that and not Superwoman Complex. And I even run into some women today at another event that I was at today, leadership conference, who were at the Mom Power Up conference, and they said, your story hit me right in the heart. And so it's a wonderful conference. I look forward to the next conference that they're going to do. But you know, if you're a mom, a working mom, I encourage you to attend the next conference because it's life-changing, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I love that, and I hear it from my Women with Voices group. Moms, they are before the pandemic, right? And then the pandemic hit, and they had multiple more chores and responsibilities. But they too need help, right? The mothers, like the ones that stay home, feel guilty because I shouldn't be staying. You know, I'm staying home. I don't have any communications with other women. I'm not doing anything great. They tell themselves. But they are the most important gift.
That's the most important role.
Right? Being a mom, it's so hard. And then the ones that do go to work, right? And then they feel guilty for not, you know, it's a constant guilt.
It's real.
And when I saw that mom power, there's such a need for that. There's so many moms. And I love that you're addressing that and you helped them with that conference.
Yes, absolutely. It was beautiful. Wow. It was beautiful. And then, you know, I'm a big crybaby.
Totally fine with me.
They gave me a gift that was a personalized gift, and I remember opening it because I'm not expecting anything. I don't really expect anything from anybody. I just feel like I'm here to serve, and that is what it is, right? Because you don't do stuff for the accolades or the recognition. You just do it because it's in you. But they gave me a gift, and it was personalized notebook, and it had one of my favorite quotes in it. It was just so thoughtful and touching that they would even go that far to even create something like that. So yeah, I definitely look forward to the next conference.
Now, the gift box, right? Is that what you're talking
about?
Yes, the gift box. I was like, I can't wait to talk about this. How many of you remember the shows on Oprah that they're like, it's gift days, it's gift days. And I'm looking at your social media and I see this gift box. And I see that notebook. And I see all these thoughtful gifts that they put together for the women at the conference. And I was just like,
I know. It was amazing.
beautiful.
It was beautiful.
And tell the audience the picture on that. That was a great story you just shared with me.
So there's a picture that the lady, her name is Danielle, that she hand painted. So it's a leather notebook and it kind of folds over. And she took a picture. I went to a photo shoot by Vanessa Matera Photography.
We love Vanessa.
Everybody knows Vanessa. She's wonderful. She's amazing. And she took some pretty dope pictures for us for our conference photo shoot. But there was a point in the photo shoot where I was playing around with my daughter, and I'm just doing little poses, and my daughter snapped a picture with her phone, and I had posted it on my social media. Well, they went and found that very picture, and she took that picture and she hand painted a depiction of that picture on this leather notebook. And it's so detailed, it looks like a real picture, and she does phenomenal work. And so it was a very, I think, thoughtful gift. And on the front it says, "Hey, phenomenal woman."
I loved it. I loved it.
I loved it.
And I'm like the love languages, right?
Yeah.
I'm number one gifts. It's
Yeah,
the
give me some
thoughtfulness
gifts.
behind it. And I
is,
opened that and think every woman got that? Or just depends?
I got
Just
it. Everyone. So yeah, it was a very special gift.
It was such a special gift.
And they made me cry. And I even told Marissa and Miss Desiree, I said, don't make me cry. And then she's like, "I don't know, CJ." And so when I opened it up, I'm just like, oh my God, like this is just so thoughtful. Like I'm literally just here to serve.
Yes, here
So
to
yeah,
serve.
yeah.
I love that. Alrighty, a mother, an entrepreneur, a coach, a conference guru. You're throwing that out there. How do you balance it all, right? How do we do it? How do you do it?
Everyone always talks about balance, work-life balance. I like saying life-work balance the other way around, right? But I don't really think there's a such thing as balance, to be honest with you. I think there's give and take, there's sacrifices, there's times where you put your energy towards one thing over another. But honestly, the way that I'm able to handle this is my husband. So shout out to Mr. Jackson.
Yay!
My husband, when I started sharing with him my vision and my dream of what I wanted to do, what I felt God was calling me to do, he said, "Okay, what do you have on your plate? You need to figure out what's on your plate and what are you going to take off to make some of this stuff happen." And he didn't just say that. He came back, I want to say it was the next day or maybe the day after that, and he said, "I've also taken a look at what's on your plate, and I'm going to take these things off your plate, and I'm going to own these things. They may not be what traditionally a man would do and all that stuff." We have a 10-year-old daughter. Our oldest is in college, so he's not at home anymore, but we do have a daughter at the house. And he said, "I'm going to take over all this right here so that you have the capacity on your plate to do this. And you need to tell me where and when you need help. And guess what? You don't have to be Superwoman.
Wow.
I'll be your Superman."
I'm looking for a Superman out there. If I'm single, 56.
And
What
that's
a
how I'm able to
blessing.
do
That's
it.
a true man. He
Yes.
sees you
Yeah.
at your talents and what you're giving
Yeah.
back that God gave you to do.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm helping you."
Yeah. And he's amazing. He's
I
my best
love
friend.
that.
Yeah. We're like
Wow.
college lovers.
I love
Yeah,
it.
I'm just kidding.
And-
We did meet in college though,
I
and but we never dated when we were both in school. By the time we started dating, he had already graduated. So
That's
it's really interesting. So yeah, we're 20 years in the game.
What I find when I hear this, that you don't have to be a superwoman. So I'm a motivational speaker, and I speak about finding your super strengths.
Yeah.
And you gave me a whole new vision
Yeah.
of how to take those powers of your superpowers. Really, you don't have to be Wonder Woman, but it's how what you feel
it.
like. Just take them on how God gives them,
Yes.
and just do it.
And just do it. And it's so interesting because, that whole Superwoman complex, when you see it, it represents grace and strength and intelligence and beauty, and all these things. But on the inside, you're not looking like that. On the inside, you're kind of tattered and battered, just from everything that's going on. And we have to realize that we do not need to be Superwoman. We do not have to be omnicompetent, meaning we have to know everything about everything.
Yeah.
We don't. you need to enlist the help of those around you. And I think as women, especially, we have a hard time with that because we don't want to be vulnerable. Because women traditionally have been very competitive with one another, and it's like, oh my God, did you see what happened to CJ? Her mask is slipping, and start tearing each other down. Versus, you know what? I saw CJ and she looked like she was really struggling. Let me support her. Let me pray for her. Let me lift her up. Like, sis, do you need something? And I think we need to do a better job of cultivating that type of environment. That's why I love what you do with your organization and how you're giving women back their voice, and you're giving them opportunity to use their voice and share their voice. And so having people like you be the conduit to that is amazing. I think you're dope.
Oh, well, we're dope together. I
think you're dope, and we need to be able to do that, to be able to support each other and lift each other up and let people know, you know, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay to not be okay, and it's okay that you're not perfect, because guess what? Nothing's perfect. Let's live in progression, because progress gets you to the next level and you can continue to grow. But if you're perfect, where are you going to go?
And I love that you and I, right, we're seasoned, that we can tell these younger entrepreneur women, young moms, that you don't have to be perfect. You don't. And you can show and be humility, you know, your humility. And we're there for each other. Because I always open up my Women with Voices events, and I'm like, we are not here to be bitches. We are here to love and support each other. We were 8th grade when that stuff was happening, and we are here to be kind.
We're not in middle school anymore. We're not in middle school anymore.
And I lived through it in a corporate world, in a man's world, working with women too. That it needs to end.
It does.
And let's just love on each other and just support each other. Because
absolutely.
really, and I know, and I tell people, the ones that are doing that are wounded. So give them grace.
They are.
And they need more love. But let's knock it off.
Let's knock it off.
I love that. All right. How can we help you? How can we get a hold of you? What can we do for you to support you?
Oh my gosh. I'm available on social media. If you go to Facebook, I know that's, you know, still the young crowd doesn't really use Facebook anymore, but I do have a Facebook page. If you go to www.Phenomenal Woman Academy, it's our website. You can find information there. If you look up Confident Coach CJ, you can find me on Instagram. And so if you just go to the website, you'll be able to find everything else, all the places that I am. But I would just say, just keep spreading the word about all the resources, not just mine. I mean, even me spreading the resource, spreading the information, about your resource, about what's out in the community. So that women are aware, because I think we have a ton of resources, but I think people lack awareness, and we just need to bring awareness to what's available to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for being a great host, and thank you.